So external CSS. So external CSS is CSS written inside of another file. So this is like hanging the rules on the wall of the classroom. Right? So whenever any student comes, so any student will see the rules. Alright? Alright, so this is like hanging them inside the classroom, right? And then only taking them down when you don't want the other students to see them, right? It's like or as if you hang the rules, but no one notices until you like do something. It's like on a Google Slides or something, all right? So you're about to see what I mean. So that is basically writing a separate file. So we have an index and about.html. So this is a great example. So let's go and create in a new file inside our directory. Let's call it styles.css. That's it. And let's go ahead. Let's create a new element. Let's do an h4 and just call it my name is Nano. Alright. Refresh. Boom. Now inside of styles.css, let's go ahead and we can go ahead and take this exact same rule set, go to styles, paste it. Alright, and then let's change this to an h4, background of black. So let's just see, refresh. What is nothing happening? Alright, so first of all, did you tell the index.html or your students to look at the rules and use them? Well, apparently you didn't. So how do you tell the students use those rules? So, or tell index.html, I want to use those CSS rules. So you're going to use those using a link tag. So you want to click link rel. So this must be style sheet. I'll explain this in a second. href, where is it? Well, it's in the correct it's the current directory. So we're going to do style.css, styles.css, close your tab. Done. Those rules applied. Yay. So what is this basically telling? So this right here is telling, well, look for a style sheet, which is called styles.css in the current directory, obviously. Alright? So we're telling to look for it in the current directory. And what type is it? It's a style sheet. Alright? It's like telling this is the rules for the classroom instead of procedures for the classroom. Alright? It's pretty simple. Now what we can go ahead and do is that I want every h2 anyway to be this. So I can just copy this, get rid of it here, and paste it. Alright? But it'll still exist. Boom. It still exists. I can change it to red, and it still works. Alright. So let's go ahead and talk about some other things. So what I want to go ahead and do, now look at this. When I go to about.html, look at about, and look at these stuff. So let's go and put like an h4, and let's say news article. It doesn't matter what you're saying, just h4. Now we're gonna check our style sheet. There's no background black or color white. What are you doing? So did we tell these students to look at the rules? No. So if you have Emmet, you can just link tab, and you have an href. See, exactly the same thing, and then we'll just do style.css. Boom, and it applies. Yay. Alright, so let's gonna play with this. Let's gonna add some more properties. Alright, so we have a color white, background black. Let's do text align center. Alright, so you have text align center, you have left, that's normal, you have right, and you have justify. So justify cannot be really told, but I can go and show you. So I just want to do center, let's just say. So let's do center. Alright, we're gonna play in about.html for now, alright? And then let's go ahead into what directory again? Great. About.html, never mind. Yeah. And below the news article, I'm a p tag lorem 25. Enough. Now I was gonna do justify. So How do we target this? Is this a P element? Yes, it is. So let's do P, curly braces open, and let's do text align justify. Enter is justify. Alright, so we can do other properties with this. Well, I want this to, let's see, have a background of also black. We can't see anything, so we do a color white. Font size looks a little small. 25 pixels will fix it up. Alright, now this H4 that we have, let me just do this. Let me get this H4 and make it in order. Maybe this looks out of order. There we go. Now, what I want to do is just make this H4 font size. Let's make it bigger than our P tag. Let's make it 35 pixels. There we go. And we don't need a background on this thing. This is a news article. There, or we could have a color, a purple. Exactly. This is how you play with CSS properties. Now, one thing you may actually notice is that by default, these things have spacing in between them when we never said we wanted spacing. So, let me go and show you exactly what these have. So let me just make this full screen a bit. Let's go inspect, right? Grab your selector tool and select one of these elements. So we're gonna select this news H4. Alright, you can see it says H4 and it passes the contrast test, which we'll talk about later. Now if you read it, so if I go in and larger this up, you can see that it has margin of 46 pixels, which is highlighted by the orange. So how do we get rid of the margin? So margin is basically space around the element. So this is what? An H4. So if we were to target it, we'll say margin 0. No margin. But it still has some. Well, it's being affected by these two. So if I was to take the margin, copy it, paste it, alright, we ran out there. Then if I put margin 0 on here, these are all squished together, alright? No spacing whatsoever. So you may be like, I just zeroed out the margin, so how do I get some back? Like, I don't want 100% gone. So let's do, so we're going to specify in the P class, let's do some margin left of 20 pixels. Alright, so this thing was just shifted to the left, 20 pixels. We can do the exact same thing with the right. Alright, so it looks a little more centered. Alright, if you're seeing what I mean. It's like a little more centered. Now you may be like, you're spacing back on the top, what's going on? Watch what happens when I put margin 0. It's gone. So here's the thing that you have to start understanding. So what I want to teach you is that any element that's on the top, anything that comes after it, so this P tag, so if we were to have margin left, let's just say 50 pixels, this is more because it's not going to no longer read this. We overrided the property that was below it. Alright, so then I'll get confused by these weird, like, higher order terminology like margin left and all I'm using. But this is just spacing. Just think of this as space, alright? So I'm just going to get rid of this margin left. It looks very ugly. Alright, let's go and do a margin top. I think that makes more sense. 20 pixels. Okay, now margin bottom, let's do the exact same thing, 20 pixels. But we can't see it, so let's just add something below it. How about we added P tag with lorem 20 again? There we go. But here's the issue. We do see margin bottom 20 pixels. That's a good thing, alright? Now how do we verify its actual margin, not just Chrome styling or something? So we take our inspector, P tag, and we can see it has 20 pixels of margin. Okay? 20 pixels. Now I want you, so we're going to actually look at this. This is called like the box model almost, I'll call it. And you're going to see exactly what I mean by that soon when we talk about margin, padding, border, all that. It's incredible. Alright, so we have font size 25 pixels. Alright, we have 25 pixels. We have a color of purple. Now, what can we do from this? Like, what can we build off of this thing? Well, let's go ahead. And now what I want to do is how you see this news article squished together. Alright, it's kind of squished. Now, here's one thing. This is an H4. I do not want, so if I go to about.html, I do not want, alright, so that another h4, let's just say news2, is also given the same design. I mean, it looks fine, but this is a news article. I don't want it news2 that exact same styling. So what you would do in this case is, remember classes and IDs? Let's give this a class. Let's give news2 a class of news-2. Now if we go into style.css, news-2. Alright? Now what I'm going to do, this is an h4, let's go and get rid of all h4 styling. So we'll just comment it out, or in total we'll not get rid of it, alright? Just commenting out. Alright, so you can see the h4s are back to 0. So the news2, let's go and give it a background of red, let's just say. Alright? Font size of 25 pixels. Color white, so we can see it. There we go. So just news2 is going to have this styling. This h4 is not going to, alright? So that's like how, so now you may notice, what does this period have to do? So, let me talk you guys a trick. So commenting, so by the way, it's just a comment in CSS, it's just / asterisk, asterisk, / no, asterisk, / there we go. So anything between, you can write between it. So I'm just going to take it down a couple lines. Alright, so let me go talk about this. If you want to target a class, alright, it will be a period. And then when you want to target an ID, it's going to be a hashtag. Alright, so if an ID is targeted with a hashtag and a class is targeted with a period, let's go ahead and practice that. Alright, so in my about.html, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create an h2 with the class. No, let's do different elements. I'm tired of using h2s. Alright, let's do a p tag with the class of lead. No, let's do a p with the class of heading. Alright, and then inside of here, we're going to have like Lauren25. Alright, we're just going to say heading text. How about that? It's like text for a heading. Alright, and before that, let's just have a div. Wrap everything around us. Alright, so remember divs are like containers. Alright, and this div itself, let's give it the class. Let's actually give an ID class of news article -1, let's just say. Alright, now, an ID, let me go explain this concept. We'll get back to everything. Like, we're going to review everything that we're doing towards the end, as we wrap things out. Like, as we, learn new things that connect to old things, you'll learn everything again. It's like repetitive almost, alright? But don't worry, it's not that repetitive. So an ID is something that's like, an ID is like identification for the elements. Like, alright, so let's take this example. You have a driver's license. Is someone else going to have the exact same driver's license as you, unless they're an evil twin of yours? No, even probably not with the same name. They're just going to have the same face, right? So no one's going to have the exact same ID as you, right? So this is exactly the point. You don't want something to have the exact same ID as this, alright? Instead, class is like you can determine a class like, you're able to drive cars only, not trucks or something like that, get it? So that's how you can determine class. Like, everyone can have different classes, right? And people have similar classes. But ID, no one's going to have the same ID as you, so you can take it as that, alright? So, this is our heading text. So if I save, refresh, this should just show up. So, this is showing up. Yeah, exactly, this shows up. But why? Oh, okay. So now let's go put in H3, and that will just say news 1. Alright, there we go. Alright, so we can go in and just get rid of this news 2, comment it out. Alright, so news 1. Now you can see that p tag already has that special text, because if we check here, that's what we gave the p tag. Alright, so I'm just going to comment this out. So I'm going to comment all this code out so you guys have it for future reference. So let's go ahead and look at this thing carefully. News article 1. Hashtag news article 1. Open curly brace. Alright, now what do we want to do with this div? Well, we want to do nothing. Maybe we could do things. Let's just set it color. Now this is a good concept to talk about. So if I was to put color purple on this, all this information inside is all going to be purple. Watch. Whatever I do in here is to be applied to everything. So I'm going to say color purple. Boom, everything that's inside this div was purple. We can give the whole entire thing a background of black, even if we had to. Alright, let me just highlight it. Let's give everything white. Alright, there we go. We're having some more fun now. Alright, so whatever that's inside of here, whatever you write inside a div and has things inside of it, whatever you put styling you put on it is going to be applied to everything. Alright? That is like color, background, text align. Because if I was to do text align center, boom. Alright? So all this elements are to do it. Now let's go ahead. Look at our index, not index, about. Alright, we're styling our about page. Even though this looks nothing like an about page. Don't worry. We have a H3. Let's give it a class of heading dash heading. Let's just do heading. And let's call this paragraph. No. News text, news heading. News heading. There we go. So let's go and do news heading. I want this to have a font size. So font size of 35 pixels. Something large. I want the text align to be left. I don't want it to be centered. Left. No, actually not text align. Let's do background. And I want it to be green. Now you can see that regardless of this having a background in black, this thing was overwritten by this. But this is considerably lower than this. Alright? So we have background green. Alright, that looks like a nice news heading. Right? And we're good so far. Now let's go and look at this. Let's go and do news dash, what was it called? News as text. If my text editor want help. News as text. Now, let's go and get rid of all the margin. Let's just zero out the margin, alright? And zero out the margin here. There we go. So zero out the margin. I think that was too much margin. Alright, so let's go and zero out the margins on both areas. That's pretty good to do. Now, you may notice that every single time we're just zeroing out margins. I don't want, like, how can we get rid of this? Like, every element has to get zero margin. So we can go in and get rid of it here. Now, at the top of this, so at the very top of your page, let's just do something called a general reset. So, asterisk means everything. So, whatever you put in the asterisk, everything's being applied. So, regardless of the element, everything's applied. So, we're going to do a margin 0. Boom. So everything on this page now has a margin 0. That's it. That's all we care about right now. Once we get into padding, we'll talk about other stuff that can go in the reset. Alright? So let's do news as text. Now let's go ahead. And I think the background looks fine. We'll just want the font to be a little bigger. It's kind of hard to read. Alright? Now we can definitely want to, I do want to give a margin left of just 10 pixels. Not too much. Alright? There we go. So margin left, now margin right of 10 pixels. Alright, so we do not see a margin because let me go and show you this. If I was to get rid of this and give this a background of black, now you can see it. Hold on. There we go. Now you can see that margin occurring. See, we just gave it margin. Now the only reason we're not seeing it is because we were not giving this margin. Right? So like here's the thing that's going on. If we had enabled on this whole entire container had the background of it. So regardless of what this had, nothing was affected because this container stayed the same size, alright? Regardless of this, it's like you have a truck and you want to put a car inside. Regardless of the car's size, if it's smaller, the truck's not going to get smaller. It's going to stay the size that it is, alright? Unless you tell it to get smaller or you cut half of it, something like that. Get it? So it's like the truck cannot get smaller regardless of the car. Even if the car is tiny, the truck will not get tiny with it. Alright, so that's basically what was happening here. That the background was to the container, but the container will stay the size regardless of its children. Alright, so we have background of black. Alright, and we gave it margin left and right. Now it's going to give it margin top. I think we can see margin a little better now what's happening. So I'm going to give this also 10 pixels on the top. There we go. And we can give it margin dash bottom of 10 pixels even so. Now you may notice that we're giving all 4 of these are just the exact same. So there's a shorthand. So let's do shorthand. So the shorthand is just to do margin 10 pixels. So when I was to comment this out, save, exact same, because we can change this to 20 pixels. boom, is given more, but this is shorthand, meaning that this will apply to all 4. Now, don't want to confuse you a bit, but let's just say, let's bring this back to life so I can show you my example. Let's just say I want the left and right to be 10 pixels, but the top to be 20 and the bottom to be 20. Alright, and let's comment this out for now to look at it. Alright, so how would I do that? So, the first one is going to be your top and bottom. So watch what I mean by this. So I'm going to do 20 pixels and then my left and right 10. Let me just comment this out. Save, same, right? So here's what it means. This top number is the top and bottom. So it's going to do margin. So your first one's going to be top and bottom. Then your second one is going to be left and right. Alright, this is usually you would not apply uneven margin. That's why I'm only teaching you guys right now. Top and bottom, left and right. But there are ways to do like left, right, all in one. But this is a shorthand. It's good to know the shorthand. Now let's go ahead, and I want to give this heading, alright, right under the font side. Let's going to give this. Let's do font style, and we can do italic. This text is now italic. We can do bold. No, we can't. Yeah, we can do bold. There we go. But that wouldn't really do anything. We have italic. So look, if we do font size, italics, right? Let's just do italic for now. Now, you may notice also, like I'm saying notice a lot because if you don't notice, you're not going to understand. This font is Times New Roman. Doesn't look very nice. So, let's go ahead and let's just say I just want this heading to have a new font, which is used as heading. So, let's do font family, a family. And what if we'll just put cursive? This font is now different. Alright, so we're getting there. So we apply font family. So this is a family of fonts, and we're applying cursive. Now there are other fonts available. We have Arial. Not Arial, Arial. So if you notice, so when I'm typing, right? So if I do Arial, whatever, right? Whatever I'm typing, so family, and let's just say I'm typing anything, VS Code is trying to suggest me some fonts. You may notice, it's like giving me some font. These are called web safe fonts. These fonts are already pre-included, like they're ready for the web browser, ready to be used. So we can use Arial. Now, when we do this, we get 3. So here's what it means. If Arial is not available, use Helvetica. If Helvetica is not available, use sans serif. This is a font family. So these just back on of one another, alright? These all 3 will be used. So like if Arial is not available, let's just say Helvetica is used. If Helvetica is not available, sans serif is used. Now, let's go look at the difference between sans serif. So I'm going to do sans serif versus serif, alright? So if we have sans serif, that is just straight, alright? That's like no corners or something like that. But when I do serif, that's just old Times New Roman font, alright? So you can clearly see that there's a lot of different ways to do stuff. So hopefully this will show you that not everyone's CSS is the same. So don't expect like if we were to compare it to web pages, their CSS is not going to be the same, even if they're doing the same exact thing. There's going to be difference in CSS. People have different like preferences. Like I have a different preference about things, and you'll start to see like what's actually occurring. Right? So let's gonna review what we learned today. So what we learned, right? So we learned margin, padding so far. Hold it, this has to be all commented, or it's not gonna work. All right. So we learned margin, padding. No, we didn't learn padding. Sorry. So we learned margin, we learned font, we learned about fonts, we learned about centers, like, aligning. We learned about background. We learned about color. We learned about, let's see, font color. We learned about background. What else did we learn? We learned font family, and we learned font size. So, font family and font size. We also learned margin. Yeah, exactly. So, and we learned shorthand of margin. Alright, so this completes basically the intro part of the course. Alright, shorthand of margin. So this is like, so this just completed the introduction to CSS part of this course. Alright, the next part we dive deeper a little bit into the box model, which is margin, padding, border, to make your web page look better. We're gonna dive into like, wait. So before I say anything, look at it. When we remove margin, this looks a pretty nice header. If I do say so myself, I can replace it with just about. Watch. This is an about page. Instead of that, let's just do about. Hey, that actually looks pretty nice. All right. So that's one thing, and just notice. All right, just keep that. So in the next part, we're gonna like dive deeper into these things. We're gonna learn about a little bit about visual design to make our website look incredible. And there's gonna be a lot more components that we're gonna dive into, which make our web pages even more stylish, nicer, better, greater. And I know you can do it. All right. If you were able to survive today's lecture, like these couple parts of lectures, you'll be good enough for moving on to the next part of CSS. All right. So this, hopefully you start to understand the intro to CSS. Like, that's just a quick introduction. All right. I do not expect you to understand what's going on here. If you're confused just a bit, it's totally fine, because like the next part, that's my goal, is to like build those concepts on top of one another, understand them, see how they relate. I mean, we started to see that connection, but you're gonna see that even more in the next